In October 2022, I was honoured to join many of you for an important conference on light pollution, culminating in the Brno Appeal. Today, calling from my home office in Tucson, Arizona, I'm delighted to share a few thoughts on this important gathering, to express my gratitude to Anna and Katarina at the Czech Ministry for the Environment for this invitation, and for the leadership across Europe on this important topic. Of course, for the last 4.5 billion years, one of the great constants of our planet has been dark, dark nights and those light, bright days. We've always been drawn to light. In fact, some of the early innovations were to harness energy to extend the night. But how do we get here, where we've banished night from so many of our cities, and what does it mean? So today, light pollution truly is a global issue. 83% of people around the world live under light-polluted skies, and 99% in Europe and North America. And from a study last year, we know it has grown globally. In fact, we estimate now at 10% per year for the past decade. The problem is simple. Light pollution is doubling every 8 years, impacting biodiversity, wasting energy, and climate change estimated as maybe as much as $50 billion a year and 1% of global emissions, and linked to so many of the public health crises we're facing, from diabetes and cancer to mental health. Now, the solution is simple. We need to reclaim the dark. At Dark Sky, we believe 3 strategies need to come together. The first is the critical role that public policy will play, providing leadership in this area. We need to provide incentives and recognize best practices, and we need to extend our work to collaborate across disciplines, so as light pollution touches so many efforts and areas. In essence, we need to recognize that light at night is pollution. Unlike many other issues, it can be solved at the speed of light, and it does not mean turning off all the lights. It does mean following some simple best practices for lighting. We like to refer to them as the responsible outdoor light at night, these 5 principles. Very simple, a simple framework that can be used at any scale. We also need to work together to overcome some barriers. What about safety? Notice anything here? When we shield that light, when we eliminate the glare, we suddenly can see the person who was hiding there all along. We need to also overcome the belief that because LEDs are efficient, they've necessarily solved the energy problem. In fact, by following the Roland principles, we can have beautiful spaces at night that save even more energy whilst creating welcoming environments for people. So in short, we need to recognize light at night as pollution, and that bad lighting is its enemy. And responsible outdoor light at night, Roland principles support well-being. They protect wildlife, they reduce energy waste, and we need to come together to solve this. In closing, Europe was the first continent to be illuminated at night, and it is now amongst the most light polluted. It's turn to lead the way in reclaiming the night. I wish you the best in your discussions, and we at Dark Sky look forward to supporting, celebrating, and sharing your progress. Thank you.
I will now pass the word to our Senator, Mr. Jiří Dušek. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to welcome you today on behalf of the Czech Republic here in Prague, as well as greet everyone online for the conference Light Pollution 2024. We have gathered here in the beautiful building of the Czech Academy of Sciences to discuss and focus our attention at the issue of light pollution, which affects nature and people to an extent we don't yet fully comprehend. Apart from being a member of the Czech Senate or the Senate of the Parliament of the Czech Republic, I'm also a director of Brno Observatory and Planetarium. So trust me, I do value the natural darkness. Natural darkness has the same value as clean water, air or soil, or a stable climate. More than half of all mammals and insects and most of amphibians need a nocturnal environment. If we reduce, or if we can reduce lighting in places and at times where there is no reason or necessity for it, we will not only reduce the burden on the environment and health, but also we also save money and energy in times of energy security crisis. We have to say again and again that reducing light pollution means protecting biodiversity and habitats while contributing to mitigation of climate change and decreasing production of other pollutants associated with energy production. Our goal here at this conference is to provide a space for open discussion and to learn about the progress and new projects which might help us find a way how to tackle light pollution. The Czech Republic restarted its work on light pollution in 2017 when an inter-ministerial working group was set up. This group prepared material for the government of the Czech Republic on the effects of light pollution and absence of solution to this problem. It was followed with an action plan on research and awareness raising, legislation, technical standards, and public support schemes. In 2017, Act on Nature and Landscape Protection was updated, setting out the conditions for introducing light sources into national parks in order to prevent light pollution. Nowadays, we are working on the future update of this Nature and Landscape Protection Act, adding explicitly protection from the light pollution. Since 2017, rules for reducing light pollution have been also included in state financial support for the modernization of lighting systems. Only lights 2,700 kelvins and lower were currently eligible for the subsidy. In 2023, a national technical standard limitation of undesirable effects of outdoor lighting was published. Following the update of the Building Act in 2023 with inclusion of the negative effects of light pollution, the implemented decree is being prepared, which will refer to technical parameters to outdoor lighting installations. There are also 4 areas of dark sky in the Czech Republic: Bystřická, Manětínská, Jizerská, and Beskidská, which help to raise awareness, as well as several lighting manuals with recommendation for public lighting, as well as for private entities or architectural light. As a senator, I support and follow the topic of light pollution since 2020, when I initiated a public hearing in the Czech Senate called The Government to Action. In 2022, during the Czech Presidency of the UE Council, we hosted the CZ Press workshop on light pollution at Brno Observatory and Planetarium. I am glad that the Ministry of Environment raised this topic once again through this event and through the format of Visegrad Four+, and that light pollution will be discussed also on the ministerial format in Brno next week on Monday and Tuesday. I considered it very important to talk about European-wide approach towards light pollution before elections to the European Parliament and before new European Commission takes the office. I am happy that there are more conferences on light pollution to come this year. For example, 16 European Symposium for the Protection of the Night Sky in Groningen, Netherlands, next week. Or the conference on light pollution theory, modeling and measurements in Almunster, Austria in July. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, sharing the information, cooperation, as well as determination and awareness raising amongst society and also amongst legislators and national representatives are the main tools for accomplishing our goal. Thank you for coming to Prague. Thank you for joining us online. I hope the community of people working on solutions to light pollution will only grow. Enjoy the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dušek, for a warm welcome. It is a pleasure to have you here, and we thank you very much for providing us the amazing exhibition which our guests here can walk through in the room next door. Now, before we meet to the first session, let me add just some couple of technical notes. The discussions will take place at the end of each session. In the meantime, do not hesitate to send your questions through Slido, which you can use QR code, and it's available online as well. The first session will focus on the topics that we all come in touch with. It's legislative, funding, technical aspects, and monitoring. After a break, we should start the second session. It should be 10 minutes after 11, and that session will take us to exact projects which approach the topic of light pollution from many different sides. As Mr. Senator said, the final conclusions from this conference will be presented during the Environmental Ministers meeting that will take place in Brno next week. The event will welcome the ministerial representatives from 10 European countries. So, without further delay, I give the floor to the speaker, the first speaker, the director of the Department of Environmental Policy and Sustainable Development, Mrs. Anna Paskova. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Katka. Yes. Also, once again, warm welcome from me as well here in Prague. And thank you also for coming, being here, either present or online. Also, many colleagues are joining us only online because they were not able to come, but we spare some CO2 emissions being online, but meeting in person is really great. So my presentation is about European legislation. The presentation was chosen, as Mr. Dušek, His Excellency said, it's good to talk about European level because the elections to European Parliament are coming, and we really think it's good to send once again the signal to future European Commission that it's really needed to deal with light pollution. So that's why we are starting with this presentation. We are following up on the Czech Presidency and also to Spanish Presidency because there was also another event in Granada last year, and we are really grateful for cooperation and passing this topic over the presidencies once again and once again. We did produce with also your support, the Brno Appeal, and also one brochure about like overview what different countries around Europe are doing in order to solve light pollution. What are the measures? So this was kind of overview brochure on the state of play within different member states. And now we are here in Prague once again. So just to start, let me just briefly talk about the legislation. I'm sure all of us knows how the process works at the European level, so I will just briefly comment. The Commission, the European Commission, is the legislator who proposed the legislation at the European level. And then the Council, meaning representative of governments of different member states, and the European Parliament, decide what are their stand on the proposal. And then it goes to trilogue to reach the final decision, the final proposal, the final text. Even though it's amongst the officials from the European Commission, officials from national governments, members of parliament, also citizens have possibilities to influence the legislative process. It's a good praxis that when there is a drafting of new legislation or evaluation or updating of legislation, there is a consultation process managed by the European Commission. It's called Have Your Say, and you can really give your input and your comments on the legislation, whether it was working well, working not, what's missing. So even citizens or companies are able to step into the process at the beginning. Then also we do have like expert evaluations and assessment reports produced either from EEA, European Environmental Agency, or Joint Research Centre. And we have also data support, for example, from the program Copernicus. There are other bodies who can also influence the debate. There is the European Committee of Regions, who assembles cities and regions, and there is also European Economic and Social Committee, which is more about the employers and employees. So, going back to the regulation of the light pollution, as we have learned from our dear colleagues from the European Commission last year in Brno, there are already tools and pieces of legislation that we just need to use it. So I decided to go through them to really repeat where we have these parts of, mentioning of light pollution in different existing policies or legal proposals or legislative acts. So first of all, European Green Deal and the 8th Environmental Action Programme and Zero Pollution Action Plan. Then, very importantly, in the field of biodiversity protection, we have proposal for the nature restoration law. Also, for many years, we have in our hands powerful law, which is environmental impact assessment. We have also eco-design policy, which is for introducing goods on the market. And also, recently, we do have also the implementation of so-called do no significant harm principle within a Sustainable Finance Directive. So going to the 8th Environmental Action Programme, the priority objective is pursuing zero pollution ambition and also to preserve and restore biodiversity. And since we know that light pollution is really a pollutant, and we have to call it like this, and we also know how it influence in a negative way the biodiversity and the ecosystem, we really see behind those priority objectives that we also need to cope with light pollution. Also, we are about to reduce environmental and climate pressures. When we look at the Zero Pollution Action Plan, we see the light pollution as a pollutant of emerging concern, which is needed to research more, to have more research evidence, more data, and I'm really happy that the following presentation will be about the research support from the side of the European Commission, which is also connected to the priorities of Zero Pollution Action Plan. And it's good to say that the nexus of Zero Pollution Action Plan is more about also light and human health, not really light and biodiversity. The Zero Pollution Action Plan was already monitored. We do have Zero Pollution Monitoring and Outlook report from December 2022. And we have also one brief report, initial report, produced in occasion of monitoring of zero pollution, which is called Review and Assessment of Available Information of Light Pollution. Because if we want to regulate some problem, we need to have data and we have to understand what's happening. So it's really great that colleagues from Switzerland, they made this report, and we were really glad that they also came to Brno 2 years ago, and that they were also able to benefit from the discussion with most of you. In this year, there will be a process of evaluation. So when I was talking about the possibility to have your say within the process, we expect that with the evaluation there will be another consultation process as well for the Zero Pollution Action Plan. And afterwards, there will be the update of the text of monitoring and outlook. And we know that the colleagues from European Commission will also use pilot data from remote sensing. So we hope they will also include the light pollution within the monitoring now. And in 2025, we expect to have finished the evaluation report. So very important for me, being from the Ministry of the Environment, piece of legislation, nature restoration law. It's still not closed. The trialogues are not still closed. So I will be talking about the proposal and the state of play in which it is now. So the nature restoration law is the key component of biodiversity strategy. We have the targets for restoration of different ecosystem habitats and species, including, for example, urban ecosystems. And the member states, Czech Republic, Poland, France, all the member states will have to operationalize these targets within their national restoration plans, which has to be submitted 2 years from adoption of the Act. And then the European Environment Agency and the European Commission will assess those plans and also progress reports. One good news within negotiation in European Parliament last week, the text about light pollution, because so far in the proposal it was in Annex 7, that member states can also add the problem of light pollution within their national restoration law. But in the proposed text from the European Parliament, there is Article 49, who says explicitly that member states, when preparing their national restoration plan, they should be able to consider stop, reduce or remediate light pollution in all ecosystems. So we will see how the text will end after trialogues, but so far this is the output from the members of European Parliament. Environmental impact assessment, light is explicitly stated there, but unfortunately, including Czech Republic, in our transposition, we don't have the wording for the light pollution. But we managed to have the manual for people, for the experts assessing the environmental impact assessments to follow. And so far now we have already good experiences that from infrastructure projects, highways, that the evaluators better followed the guidance and they dimmed the light. Eco-design. For this year, there is revision due for eco-design requirements for light sources and separate controls. And we would like to follow closely this update, because it was stated it will also include the perspective of the influence and effects on biodiversity, on light pollution. Taxonomy, only briefly, since we would like to see light pollution as explicit pollutant, and it's already in the strategies and policies mentioned, we can also say that after goal number 3, pollution prevention and control, we may fit as well light as other hazards. So, and this is my almost last slide, was the possible move forward for all of us working at the European level. We have to be explicit that this is an agenda that will benefit the other agendas, either biodiversity or climate change or even health. We have to also work close with the European Environmental Agency and state explicitly that we would really be happy for them to assess all the data at the European level, since they do it for other fields of environment. Send a message for European Commission and also coordinate at the level of Environmental Council, European Council. And I'm very happy that we will gather in the afternoon with our colleagues from other member states to start our informal working group to coordinate better, and also to be able to talk with upcoming presidencies which will be Hungary, Poland, Denmark, Cyprus, and Ireland. And in some of those countries, we see a lot of happening. So we hope they will pass the topic also to their presidencies. And as I said, European Parliament is good to bear in mind that even the members of the Parliament has a huge influence on the legislation that is drafted, and they are able to add articles that are beneficial. So this is just a couple of words for the ending, and I'm really happy that we gathered here today and that we will work together in coming months and years. So thank you for your attention. That's all from me, and I will pass the word back to Katka.
Thank you, Anna, very much for your presentation. We will move forward. Next two presenters, unfortunately, could not join us here in person and will join us online. So let me welcome here Mr. Manfred Rosenstock from European Commission, where he is working as Deputy Head of Unit of Green Knowledge and Research Hub and Live Program.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm just trying to. There we go. So, do you hear me? Can somebody confirm that?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Well, good morning, and thanks a lot for having me at this conference. I'm sorry for not being with you physically, which is, of course, as Anna Paskova said, the much nicer way. But sometimes things don't work out that way. I'll complement her presentation to talk to you a bit about the research side of light pollution. So I'll explain a bit the finalized research projects that we've had, then the ongoing research, some upcoming projects under Horizon Europe, and if time allows, I'll finish with a few words about the LIFE program, the LIFE instrument, which is an environmental funding instrument and which also provides some support for light pollution. But I'll start with, and if we could move to the next slide, please. I don't see the slides, so I don't know whether you see the next one already. Super, now I see them. Yes, let me start with something that is more a science communication product than an actual research thing. It's called Science for Environmental Policy, or Environment Policy to be correct. And apart from a bi-weekly news alert that you can subscribe to online, we do some deeper reports there, so-called future briefs on individual topics, where we just go address one theme and where it summarizes and presents the state of research. So there was one on light pollution very recently in November last year, and it had different elements. It looked at first at the precautionary principle as its application as one of the reasons for acting now, and then it looked at ways to protect the environment and also human health from artificial light at night, from ALAN, as it is usually abbreviated. And we present their technological and practical adaptations, such as direction and limitation, and also control and adaptation instruments and smart approaches, so using IT solutions. We also look at another element which is important there, the question of what are the right thresholds for light that we should not transgress. and measurement issues and assessment issues. And finally, we analyze there the specific issues that, for example, include zoning, so the definition of artificial light at night free areas, so keeping certain areas dark in order to protect biodiversity and ecosystems there. We are looking at dark infrastructure and cross-cutting approaches which focus on species and ecosystems. And then there is a chapter on the use of citizen science. I think that was already mentioned earlier on. It's an important way to help with measurement analysis and definition of the problem. And finally, the publication, and this is what it looks like, the publication. Also looks at research issues and knowledge gaps, in particular species where the impact of light pollution is unknown, so where more research is necessary to understand better the impact of light pollution on them. We look at marine and freshwater habitats where there's an issue of lacking data, and we also look at geographical disparities in the impacts of light pollution, which is also an important issue. So this report is available online on our website, and if we could go to the next slide. Excellent, thank you. You see up here on the slide the link where you can find and download the full report. It's an interesting reading. The graph below essentially picks up again the same points that are in the different chapters of the report. So it looks at like Allen-free areas, it looks at environmental lighting, it looks at dark infrastructure and cross-cutting approaches. So just the elements are already mentioned, but he presented here in a nice and graphical way. If we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. And with that, we can start the key element of my presentation, and that's the question of EU-funded research on light pollution. When you had the conference in Brno about 18 months ago, if I remember well, my colleague Joachim Deugenio was here and made a presentation, and he talked about the database results from the CORDIS database of EU-funded research and he said there were 71 entries related to light pollution. Now the figure 18 months later is 84, so it's quite significantly increased, which shows you that it is an upcoming issue that is more and more coming into the focus of research, and that we get more and more outcomes. So you have the past projects under the 7th Framework Program, under Horizon 2020, which finished in 2020. And then you have the current research program, Horizon Europe. And there's also the European Research Council that looks into more fundamental research type of issues. The research focus of all these projects varies a lot, which I think is a useful thing, because the issue has many dimensions. It looks, for example, at issues of astronomy and energy efficiency, because astronomers complain a lot about the impossibility of observing the night skies because of the lack of darkness. There's an increasing number of biodiversity and ecosystem related issues, and there's an increasing number of public and human health issues. And we'll see that in a moment when I talk about the new projects. If we could go to the next slide, please. Here you see selected projects from the Horizon 2020. So these are projects that are well underway and close to finalization. The first one is called Enlighten Me. It looks at citizens' health and well-being issues, both indoor and outdoor. And I understand that Giulia Mazzani, one of the researchers involved in that project, is in Prague and will do a presentation in the afternoon on the results that we've had so far. There's also this other project, Chrono, which looks at chronotype disruptions, which is an important thing when you look at the negative impacts of light pollution on the animal kingdom. We have a more specialized project on corals, the Corallan project. We have then a more specific project on urban population. Then we have the city sense, which looks at how organisms communicate and navigate under conditions of light pollution and how that alters compared to previous times. Next slide, please. Now let me come to what's happening now under Horizon Europe, under the new, not anymore so new, research program of the European Union. It's structured into thematic clusters. There's one cluster called Cluster 6, and you see the title here, which includes environment. And our Directorate General is one of the co-chairs of this cluster, and we participate there and define and steer since early 2022. There was a call topic last year, which specifically looked at the impacts of light and noise pollution on biodiversity. And I said before that this is a growing area of research. We published a call for proposals, and we ended up having two projects, one being called Plan B. That's the one that looks at terrestrial biodiversity and ecosystems and the adverse impacts of light and noise on them. And then there is a project called Aquaplan, which is, if you want, the mirror image of Plan B, looking at the marine biodiversity and aquatic pollution. Size-wise, Plan B has a budget of 2.4 million overall, whereas Aquaplan is slightly bigger. It has a budget of 2.6 million. So quite significant research projects. They both started just at the beginning of this year. Yeah, if we could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, here you have it. Thank you. You have a bit more information on the Plan B project. You see that if you look at the right column there, you see that the word impact is the key word of the different outputs. So we'll look at a database that will measure the impacts. We look at new scientific models to measure the impact, innovative policy solutions, the legal and policy frameworks, of course, and then the communities of practice. As I said, the project's just started, and it's, of course, linked to the EU biodiversity strategy and the targets that we talked about earlier. It's a 4-year project, so results to arrive in 2028. You see that 8 countries are involved, all over with 12 consortium members. And as I said, it's a 2.4 million euro research project. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. Then that was last year. Now this year there's a new work program topic that's called the role of environmental pollution in non-communicable diseases, air, noise, light and hazardous waste pollution. So focus here on non-communicable diseases. It's a 60 million budget, and about 7 to 8 projects will come out of it. And it's looking at the health impact of the fact that 80% of the world population is living under light polluted skies. The focus is on evidence of causality, on taking into account the current lack of paucity of data, and and it will respond to calls from policymakers. You see here at the bottom the link to the project call. You can inform yourself there about what is ongoing. And then to finish off with, if I could get the next slide, please. Thank you. The LIFE program is, if you want, our own little baby in DG Environment. It's the only dedicated funding instrument for environment. It supports smaller projects. It looks at essentially demonstration projects and pilot projects. So it's not research, but it's the next stage, so to say, that we look at. And the key issue is we support things where we consider that the results can be replicated in other member states and other projects. We've had light pollution related projects with different focus on, for example, on different species like seabirds, turtles, or bats. We looked at regions, especially island regions, but also coastal regions and urban areas. And I mentioned Bordeaux here, where you could also say it's almost a coastal region. And then the idea of these projects being closer to policy is to find best practices and see how we could do some mapping and to support planning. Under LIFE, we also published guidelines pursuant to pollinate the pollinators initiative, guidelines on how to avoid light pollution that was published last year. If there is an interest, we can maybe in the discussion part later on go into a bit more depth about the LIFE projects. And that's it from me. Thanks a lot, and all the best for the rest of the conference. And I'll see you again in a few minutes for the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenstock, for joining us here. And we will now move. We will now move to Mr. Gasparovsky, the Director of Division 4 of the International Commission on Illumination. Mr. Gasparovsky, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, yeah, you should see now my presentation, the title of which is Technical Standards, Current Trends and Future Plans in CIE. I will not talk about the standards, but also a recommendation, so just to add to the title. And what is CIE, who we are, just to briefly introduce. International Commission on Illumination is an independent non-profit organization, and it is the highest international scientific authority in light and lighting. And CIE is also recognized as a standard developing organization. So the CIE is making its own standards, not many, but some, but cooperating with other standardization organizations, primarily with ISO. The technical committee TC274 is a common CIE ISO committee on light and lighting. And in standardization, the CIE is developing fundamental standards in light and lighting. So less application standards, more fundamental standards. But also the recommendations in lighting are very important, because many national and regional regulations and norms are based on or refer to CIE publications. And regional means also European standards in lighting are based on CIE publication, most of them, the majority, I would say. So in the last bullet point, you can see that we cover a very broad range of topics, from some fundamental things like vision, color, to application areas, both indoor and outdoor. our aim is to have a good lighting quality, which in fact means the proper light in the proper time at the proper place. Because this conference is about light pollution, or as we prefer to call it, obtrusive light, this is something that we deal in a part of the CIE. The CIE consists of 6 divisions, and one of the division is Division 4, which is for outdoor lighting. Title of this division is Transportation and Exterior Applications. Currently, we have 36 division members, which means national committees. There are 10 technical committees working, 5 active reporterships, and 7 liaisonships. I prepared a list of most relevant publications to this conference. In red rectangle, you can see the 3 publications which deal with obtrusive light. The oldest one, as you can see, it's a number 001. It means the first publication in the newer numbering system, which is a joint publication with IAU, the International Astronomical Union. And together with CIE 126, these are dealing with sky glow problem. But the most important publication is CIE 150. This is publication about all the effects of obtrusive light, and this is a basement also for many standards and legislations. Besides specific publications about obtrusive light, it is very important to pick the most important recommendations for lighting quality. It means lighting level and other lighting parameters, because this come hand in hand. The most important is CIE 115, which is well known. These are recommendations for lighting of roads and motor and pedestrian traffic. For pedestrian, we have a newer publication, CIE 236. Then we have the one about lighting of urban areas, which is more just than a road lighting.
Mr. Gasparovsky, if I may stop you for a second, could you please move the presentation? We are on the page Division 4 Outdoor Lighting. The 4th slide.
Oh, so this is not at my side, I think. Well, okay, I stop now. You can see now the list of publications or not?
No, we can see the Division 4.
Well, I stop sharing and I start sharing again. Maybe this can help. I am sharing entire screen, so this has nothing to do with the application or window in which the application is running. I hope that now you can see the slide which I am describing.
We can see the first slide, the name of your presentation.
No.
It's number
okay, again, I stopped sharing now, so you should not see anything. Otherwise, something wrong on your side. I'm not sharing now the screen. Yeah?
Oh, so sorry, I just got an information that our team is projecting the presentation here in the room. Therefore, if you could please always set next, and we will move the slides here. And if you can tell us what slide we should jump to now.
Okay, I am sorry. I thought that because yesterday we had a rehearsal and I ran the presentation from here, I'm very sorry. Well, okay, so let's go quickly through. This is the slide about what is the lighting quality. Well, introduction to Division 4. Well, I didn't say, but the Division 4 is covering a really lot of applications like sports lighting, also flood lighting of buildings and architecture, outdoor workplaces, road lighting, signaling, means of transportation, so a lot of areas. So we can move. So this is the digest of the most relevant publications. I mentioned the specific 3 about obtrusive light, and then the most important publications about lighting recommendations in outdoor lighting or road lighting mostly. Well, and which are very important, or which is the one which I would like to emphasize, is just below the red rectangle, the effect of SPD. SPD means a spectral power distribution on lighting for urban and pedestrian areas, and this is very important because it says what color of light has what kind of effect. Warmer white, cooler white, whether it has effect or not for sorry, visual task of drivers and pedestrians. So from this point of view, and the first bullet point, this is a guide to urban lighting master planning, which is umbrella document or umbrella guidance covering all these lighting areas in a city. So it should make a framework for all lighting to be balanced, also taking into account the side effects like light pollution. So we can move to the next slide, please. This is the list of currently working technical committees and other work items specific to obtrusive light. Well, 461, this is artificial lighting and its impact on natural environment. So the effects to fauna flora. Then 458, this is obtrusive light from colorful and dynamic lighting and its limitation, dealing with not a steady state or static lighting, but the effects of many colors and changing the levels. So very important because it's not covered yet. Then for measurement of obtrusive light and sky glow, we have a specific technical committee, which is in Division 2, because Division 2, there are experts for measurement. So they know this better. And then we have a reportership about environmental aspects of obtrusive light from outdoor lighting installation, which should say what to do next. And an important one is adaptive road lighting, because we believe that by adaptive lighting, we can better control lighting, we can mitigate the lighting itself and also the adverse effects of lighting this way. So we believe that this is a future which will help a lot. We can move. So this is the mentioned CI 150. I would say this is our gem publication because it's covering all parts of light pollution, all affected subjects and everything in one single document, which is very good. Maybe we will merge this with our other 2 publications, which I already mentioned about the sky glow. So maybe we'll see. In this publication, there is a classification system for environmental zones, which is widely used. Also, the recommended limits in it, not only, but also the upward light ratio and upward flux ratio. So the part of light which is directed upwards from lighting installation and the light which is directed upwards reflected from the surrounding. And it has also many chapters about how to make an eco-friendly lighting design and so on, remedial measures for existing installations as well. Okay, so very important document. We can move. So this is just a example taken from the CI 150 showing the environmental zones, how they are classified, and a brief illustration of how the recommended limits for ULR and UFR are set. Of course, there are also other limits, but this is just for example. Next slide, please. Yeah, I picked some known problems that we that we have, and we identify that we need more research here and more activity here. So first is the identification of major contributors to light pollution. it's not a road lighting, but there are outdoor workplaces which intensively lit large areas. Because of the character of these areas, the light levels are much higher, and these are big areas. It means that there is a lot of light that also it's reflected upwards. So we need to pass attention to these contributors. Of course, road lighting also, but we need first of all pass attention to bigger contributors to light pollution. Also transportation, but it is hard to control or harder to control. Yeah. Then we have a problem that there are many areas that we need to take into account in a holistic way. So the astronomers and astronomical observations, fauna, flora, also humans and effect to humans. So this is very different. There are many different action spectra. So we need all this take into account. Very little is known about the light which goes out from buildings, but also the opposite way. It means the outdoor lighting, which is intruding the buildings and disturbing people inside buildings. So this is something that we need to work out, recommendation for this. Then a comprehensive integration into adaptive road lighting, because as I said, obtrusive light is a strong motivation for adapting lighting. Well, we have a good collaboration with many organizations. IAU is a long-term cooperation. We are in touch with IDA and partly also IUCN, which is the International Union for Conservation of Nature. What is one of the biggest problems is that there are many studies, but these lack for proper metrics. This means the SI traceability, also the boundary conditions, which is very important because otherwise the results are useless, and the gaps in methodology. Of course, lighting and light pollution is an interdisciplinary thing. So we need also interdisciplinary review and to work together really, because we need good studies which give us good results. Next slide, please. Plans and motions, new work items that are in plan, most of them through this year. We are about to publish a CI position statement on obtrusive light. By the way, we have one. It is embedded in one of the 3 publications. This is the CI 001, the joint publication with Astronomical Union. So we take it out and make it updated. So it will be a self-standing document. CI has some position statements. I don't know how many, but obtrusive light deserves a position statement from side of the CI. We are going to establish new research forum, which is called Obtrusive Light and Buildings. According to my latest information, this is just in a final stage of approval, so it should start to work soon, and it will deal with this two-way impacts of obtrusive light, so inside of buildings and coming from buildings outside, both ways. We also want to update the terminology in the ILV and to revise the CI publications, the 3 that I mentioned. Maybe we merge, maybe the 2 that are displayed, maybe all 3. And very important is that also the lighting recommendations we are about to update. The CI 115, which is for road lighting, and 136, the urban lighting. So this will be also very important to set the lighting requirements. So the installation or the areas of interest are not overlit. Okay, next slide. Yeah, for conclusion, I would like to say again, CI pays high attention to the problems of obtrusive light. There is a lot of work behind us. We have 3 technical reports, currently 4 work items, We organized a workshop in 2020. Unfortunately, it was during the COVID era, so it was turned to online space. Yeah, but anyway, it was a move forward. Then we are going to establish a new research forum to prepare a position statement. We are going to update the lighting recommendations with respect to environmental impacts. Then the master planning and adaptive lighting are powerful tools for mitigation of unnecessary lighting. And we have a support for further concerted research across various disciplines. Next slide, please. Just attention to upcoming event. We are preparing a workshop in Hangzhou, China, lighting up the cities, which will be about the more architecture lighting, partly road lighting, and also urban lighting. And there will be a section about light pollution as well. So this is in preparation. I cannot tell you more. So hopefully this will be successful and we can meet in China this year. And then the next year, there will be a CI midterm meeting. Midterm meeting is one of the two major CIE events. So this is also a platform to come and discuss. And when we will have a new research forum, this is a platform where people, experts can come and discuss these topics. I think this is all. The final slide is just contact to me. So when we move. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for attention.
Thank you, Mr. Gasparovsky. Thank you so much for joining us for today's conference. We will now move back to Prague, and the technical standards will be followed by the topic of monitoring. From the University of Madrid arrived Mr. Alejandro Sanchez. Thank you for coming to Prague. The floor is yours.
A pleasure. Well, thanks to Anna Paskova and all the Czech team for inviting me here. I don't know if we can see the presentation. Yeah, so I'm going to present you in a premiere the final results of the meeting that we had in the Spanish presidency in a workshop about light pollution monitoring as a follow-up of the Brno meeting. One of the main reason why we have this event was because of in the Brno appeal, monitoring was mentioned as one of the challenges that we were facing. And from the science point of view, the Science Ministry of Spain decided to host this event in Granada, joining several researchers, and there in that link you can access the final manifest, the policy advice document that we issued regarding what we think that should be the monitoring scheme for light pollution in Europe, but probably elsewhere. I'm going to highlight some of the phrases in this manifest that we have, like things that for many of us is obvious, no? But seems not to be for a lot of the people that lives in the planet, mainly because we are diurnal animals, no? And that bias us a lot. But we are, and as astronomers, we are very used to this. We are not the center of the universe, no? And we are neither the center of the ecosystems or the biodiversity, and most of it happens at night. And therefore, if we don't protect the night, we are not protecting 50% of the ecosystems in the planet. Also, as Ms. Paskova already mentioned, there is a lot of legislation already in place in Europe and guidelines that force us to act in light pollution if we want really to tackle the compromises that EU have already committed. And also now is a hot topic in terms of we have farmers complaining about the use of pesticides and how we limit them, the pesticides, but we are not limiting yet other kinds of stressors on pollinators and insects that have similar impacts. And they are listed the same way as the pesticides. So we have to be fair with the environment and with our people and control all the stressors, not those that are easier. So one of the problems that we had in light pollution was, okay, we want to monitor light pollution, what kinds, no? How, what is the key indicators, no? And we agreed that we want to control the total emissions, we want to control the connectivity, because that is key for ecosystems, and also the landscape, because even if we control the total emissions and the connectivity, if we don't control also the landscapes, mainly on protected areas, we can have unplanned impacts. For that, they have tools already in place, like satellite data. Here we have 5 different data sets that are available currently with limitations, but that can be used. I will mention some of them because it's my area of expertise at the end. Then, obviously, we have lighting inventories. A lot of the light pollution is produced by public administrations, and we have them. What we have to do is make them available and with enough quality. Here, for example, I give you an example of the lighting inventory of the city of Madrid that took us 6 years to get, but is there now. Also, we need measuring instruments. Here we have Gunther, that is one of the pioneers on this matter, but also we have to tackle some of the limitations of the current measuring devices, and lack of color sensitivity is a big problem, but we have some solutions, and there is solutions for that, and we have no technical problems if we really want to do it properly. And we have already networks. This is just one example funded by public funds, and I was involved. That's what I said. Obviously, it's a bit biased on my own work. Also, we have DSLR cameras that are publicly available and can be calibrated. We use it in astronomy. It's used also in lighting industry. And it's a measuring tool, cheap and fully already deployed. What we need to is do proper calibrations of these devices, but there's already in the market, some of them, some even from the Czech Republic. Also, we need to do modeling, because with this modeling we can predict the impacts. And then we have the research. No? I didn't know that there was so many research programs on that toward light pollution. I selected some of those that we knew about. I'm involved in the Plan B program, and also collaborating with Aquaplan. And we will try to enhance this cooperation. And the problem is, yeah, we know light pollution is growing, but we still don't know how much is growing because of the limitations on the satellites that I mentioned, but at least we have to work with what we have, and there's no reason for not doing it. In Europe, we have a lot of uncertainty, and for example, can look that is flat, and we are not growing that much, but it's not real, and we know it, thanks to the images from the astronauts from the International Space Station, that the light pollution is growing in Europe much faster than we think. And that's why we have to take action and monitor it. It's not enough with the laws if the laws are not in place. It's not enough with environmental impact assessments, even if they are in the law, if nobody really issues them and don't take the measurements. No? And we know the light pollution is a a kind of pollution that can travel very far. Here you have an example of how we can see Madrid from the Pyrenees, 365 kilometers away. And we can do this with a simple DSLR camera. And we have a lot of Natura 2000 reserves that should have these assessments, and we have tools to quickly assess how much light pollution there is, at least at a basic level. And yeah, we have a set DSLR cameras like the astronauts have and we have in the ground are better than instruments that are coming from the satellites, but we also have our own space agency. We have the International Space Station. We have ESA that can have new missions, and we have proposed one mission new, and that we hope will be funded, and we'll have a proper European satellite to do this. But also there is commercial data. And well, obviously there is different kinds of light pollution, the direct lights on the sky glow. We also can measure both from the space with their limitations. I said there is commercial data from China, but soon from Europe also, the International Space Station. And also we have to be careful on what happens if we don't do the monitoring or we trust the wrong data for the monitoring. Here we have the example of Milan, how with the wrong monitoring we got 50% reduction, but when we see the International Space Station data, we see there was not actual reduction on light levels for humans, and for the environment there was a 27% increase. No, and but in the RALAN and the Plan B, that is research that we are having now, we have already plans to publish a map for the whole Europe. We have schemes of how we think we should be done all this monitoring and the feedback for the future laws. And yeah, also there is data products that, if they are used in one way or different way, can be done to proper monitor the case of Milan, or that was in the wrong way, or the case of Madrid, a city that decreased the light levels by 50% and nobody noticed it. Even cases where laws for energy saving because of the Ukrainian war produced that laws that were not in place actually started being in place, and we could see how, for example, this commercial center in Granada was turned off late at night thanks to new regulations. And we can control this with satellite data. Now, this is a short summary of how currently science can produce effective monitoring of light pollution. It's just a matter of putting it in place and put the funds to do it. And we are working on that on some of these projects. And just, I have put already the link to the manifest that is there. You still can sign it. And soon we will make a press release making a call for more people to join on the signature. So more people can get conscious on that the state of the art is ready to do this job. Thanks.
If you can stay upstairs, we will start with the discussion. Thank you very much for your beautiful presentation, and we will move to the discussions. I will ask Anna, please, to join us upstairs. Mr. Rosenstock and Mr. Gasparovsky will join us for the discussions online. Please do not hesitate to keep sending your questions through Slido and enjoy the discussion.
Or even raise your hand here in presence. And please, if you can say your name and the institution.
Günter Wuchtel from the Kufner Observatory in Vienna, Austria. And I would like to connect the last two talks by Alejandro and Mr. Gasparowski. There is, I see, two questions that have been raised. That is first the attribution of the light emissions by Mr. Gasparowski and the SI connection. So, Alessandro, could you address the methodologies and pathways of how to go towards the SI system and towards completeness of the emissions?
As you will know, is it working? Yeah, hello, yeah. So as you will know, but it's good for the audience to know, currently there is not a standard for measuring light pollution, although there is thousands of papers measuring light pollution in different ways, and I agree that there is a need on standardization and even not standardization, but more on intercomparison and have a common ground on this. Obviously, there is a need on better tools on monitoring, for example, drones. But the main problem here is, obviously, we can go up to the highest levels of accuracy, but if we see and we compare ourselves, for example, with the accuracy that is requested for air pollutants like particles or NO2, the precision requested on those pollutants are 50% accuracy. And we can achieve already, with the current measuring tools, that level of accuracy. Well, way more, as you will know. Obviously, the gold standard will have meteorological, first-grade meteorological stations where you can really see how the light pollution with the weather is changing, and that should be like the first level of measuring, no? And having many of these devices measured at meteorological labs or with good enough scientific procedures, but we don't need to go that far yet. Yeah, that should be our goal. We should have a perfect level on absolute precision on measuring light. But if we compare ourselves with other pollutants, we don't need to go that far. And currently, if we use, for example, the simple devices that are being used currently with filters, without filters currently is not possible to achieve the 50% accuracy that is requested, for example, for air pollutants, like particles or NO2. But if we use filters, then we can get the target of getting at least 50% accuracy. That is what is comparable in other kind of pollutants. No? And from the attribution, is really challenging because the amount of light sources is a lot. But we know that, for example, light sources that emit mainly or horizontally, from the studies that are being published, is at least not more than 30% of the light. So we still have 70% of the light that we can attribute from zenith observations. Not from more than zenith, nadir observations from drones, planes, and so on. Obviously, the ideal, and you know because you are an expert on the topic, the ideal is the multi-angle observations that were there we could assess the 100% probably of the photons, but that is very, very costly, and we should not wait yet to implement these monitoring schemes when we can tackle most of the missions with the current technology.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Any other questions or brief comments on the Four presentation? Because if not, I have already one question to Mr. Gasparovsky. I hope he's still online. So,
yeah, I'm here and I'm reading in a chat window. So if this is the question you have in mind, that I am seeing it.
yes, well, my question, I will just read it for our colleagues here present, that my question is about the process of revision of CIE publications, how the process will look like, who will be involved, and yeah, what's the consultation process as well, if there is any. So, because as my presentation was about like drafting legislation, it's quite like open and transparent process. So I just wonder how it works in CIE with standards. Thank you.
Yeah, to be brief, because the process is complicated, of course, but to be brief, we have a document which is a code of procedure, and all the process is described in this document. There is no difference between a revision of a CIE publication and a development of new CIE publication. The process is the same. So there must be a technical committee which is established for the revision. So as I showed you on my slides, we have technical committees working, all of them on new CIE publications. So the obtrusive light from colorful and dynamic, the impacts fauna, flora, these are new CIE publications, okay? So for revision is the same process. We need to establish a technical committee. Then there is a process who can be a member of this technical committee. It depends on many factors, but these are top level experts. So they should prove their background in the topic. Mostly we know the people, but of course anyone can come and show that I have background, I'm expert. Yeah, and then it's approved, the membership is approved. We need to also distinguish lighting recommendations and obtrusive light problems, because for obtrusive light we can have experts in this field which are not lighting people, you know. So these are experts for light pollution. So of course they can come, they show that they have a background, they can be members. This is, by the way, the case for the TC 461, which is fauna flora problems. We have experts from also from IUCN, so biologists and so on. They are members of this technical committee. The important thing is they should author the document, not just observe and sit there and listen. They should write. Yeah, and there is a process of approval of a technical committee, first in a division, then on a higher level in CIE. So, but roughly this is the procedure.
Well, thank you very much. Only one small minor question. On your slide, you have mentioned that there is more necessity to cooperate, for example, with the International Astronomical Union, the International Dark Sky Association. So is it going to be some kind of consultation process also with those bodies? Because I do understand that the CIE has their own, you know, structure, etc., as you describe, but you know, to overlap this, or to fulfill this need for cooperation with other union or association, do you plan any consultation process?
Yes, of course. We are doing this continuously. With IAU, we have a long-term cooperation already, and you could see that we have a joint publication. So we now move to this partnership to a higher level. So there is a memorandum of understanding, which is or will be soon signed between the two organizations. But otherwise, we have other cooperation like agreements and so on. Also, the International Dark Sky Association, we had a long-term collaboration. We have liaisons who reported in Division 4 before. Now we are in touch with Ruskin Hartley, who gave a introductory speech. We are in touch, and we have plans also to move this partnership to a higher level. So this is in a process now. And of course, yes, we want to make it together, because it's not just our business. This is a common business, and we need to have these consultations, of course, yes.
Well, thank you very much. I see another raise of hand from Günther, but maybe if there are other people who would like to ask a question before I give floor to you. If not, Günther, the floor is yours.
Yeah, this is a direct question to the CIE representative. We had this long list of corresponding institutions like the IOCN and Dark Sky International. And I tried to be a correspondent, let's say that way, for the Dark Sky International for Austria for a long time. But I think I'm now more interested in the European-based Starlight Foundation, or Fondation Starlight, that is hosted on the Canary Island, that is a kind of competitor to the Dark Sky International. Are there any plans by CIA to include the Fondation Starlight from the Canary Islands, which is more UNESCO-oriented, in the CIA correspondence?
Yeah, thank you for your question. No, there is, up to now, there was no plan to do it because of maybe little awareness, but I am taking this as input from you, and thank you for this proposal. So I take you to the division, and we will discuss this. Yes, why not? Okay, so not up to now, and I'm considering this as a proposal that we can do.
Perfect, thank you. That was also the goal of this reunion, to connect. And I hope there will be no competitiveness or competition between two associations who have the same goal.
Yeah, on this I can say that the people from the Canary Islands at the Instituto de Astrofísica de Canarias have a lot of involvement on the CIE, and they have actively participated, if they are not even the main contributors, to many of the CIE documents. So the only reason is that Starlight Foundation existed after the Instituto de Astrofísica de Canarias. But the involvement of the Instituto de Astrofísica de Canarias is way higher than the Dark Sky International in the CIE. Just and from here a compliment to my colleagues from the Canary Islands, because some of the best things that are in CIE on this topic, it comes from their side.
Thank you. And one last question is from Slido, and greetings to Georgia Macmillan. It's also for you, Mr. Gasparovsky, that you mentioned transportation being one of many areas that is difficult to control regarding light pollution. Public lighting for pedestrians and road users in Ireland, anyway, does not take account of vehicle lighting, which seems an important gap. What kind of collaboration could or should be possible in this era?
Yeah, this is a little tricky question, to be frank. Well, we did not deal with this specifically before, but this is the same case as for the building, so this is a new topic that we should now take into account. And with the means of transportation, when I thought the transportation, I had not in mind road lighting, but large areas like airports and these railway yards and similar sites that have a very intensive lighting, which is then reflected upwards, and what is not good. And sometimes it's not needed because the work is carried out not all the time and so on. So there is still a gap in this. So the transportation partly means large lit and intensively lit areas. And the second is a means of transportation, like light from the headlamps and so on. So this is a little difficult because for this there are very strict requirements for safety reasons. So, but also there is a huge development in this area to direct the light where it is needed, and to have adaptive headlight systems. So newer cars are doing this very efficiently, but we look to the future, and we think that with coming of connected vehicle systems and autonomous cars, there will be less need for lighting for drivers, because the vehicles will move like automatically. So then there will be maybe less need for lighting, and this will help in having less obtrusive light then. So this is for future. Yes, we take this into account. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. And I would stop the discussion and the question and answers now. I would just to drive your attention to another comment, which is from Jana Jakušina. She's also online with us. Greetings. And she is the main coordinator of the project Horizon Plan B. So we will also share afterwards all the context and relevant links for all of you if you would like to follow up and connect. So thank you very much, and I give the floor back to Katka.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Gašparovský, for staying with us for this long. I know you have another meeting. You already have another meeting. Thank you very much for joining us. Thanks very much for Mr. Rosenstock as well for joining us. Thank you both for joining us here in Prague. Dear all, thank you for coming here again, and let me welcome you to the second session of the day. And the first presenters arrived from Poland to introduce to us new initiatives blooming in Poland with aim to reduce the light pollution in the country. Karolina and Grzegorz, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, it's really an honor to be here and to represent first results of light pollution report in Poland and non-governmental activities regarding to reducing light pollution in Poland. So I'm Karolina Skorp, I'm PhD student in Institute of Systematics and Evolution of Animals, Polish Academy of Sciences. I'm a biologist, and my colleague, my fellow is the Geography's PhD Grzegorz Iwanicki from University of Marii Curie Skłodowska in Lublin. Thank you very much. So let's start our presentation. Yeah, this is the topic. And as I mentioned before, so today we would like to present results of report and activities of Light Pollution Think Tank and Polaris Association to reduce light pollution. So now, Grzegorz, floor is yours.
Hello, I'm not a member of Polaris Association, but I've been asked to say a few things about this organization. It's the oldest and the most active NGO in Poland in terms of light pollution issues. So there've been countless events for children as well as for adults related with astronomy and light pollution. Education, some events like, as you see, Dark Sky festivals. This year will be the 12th such festival in Sopotnia Wielka, because it's headquarters of this organization. It's in southern of Poland. And Polaris also has a Dark Sky program, which means that several places, towns and cities implemented some kind of light pollution improvements, and you see those places on the map in one of the illustration. And in Sopotnia Wielka, since 2011, there have been some improvements of street lights, almost 200 street lights were removed, and better models were installed.
and also kind of improvements. As you see, the special mask to illuminate the local church were installed. So as you see, it's a big improvement, but not only in public spaces, but also almost 200 private homes and companies reduced light pollution and installed some good lamps, and all those investments resulted in quite good quality of the sky. Above the Sopotnia Wielka, as you see, the light goes only there where it's needed, on the streets, on the pavements. So in this town, which is inhabited by 2,000 people, there is a safe public spaces, a good light, and also quite good dark skies, as you see, many of stars. So I think it's the only place in Poland which has such good quality of night skies and quality of public lighting and private lighting also. And as you see on the map of light pollution, in the center of the illustration on the left, you see the Sopotnia Wielka and surrounding towns, and then you see that surrounding towns are have much more light than Sopotnia Wielka. So you see the improvement there. And those efforts for many years resulted in the certificate of Dark Sky International, and it's only the 10th such place in Europe, International Dark Sky Community. So for us and for Poland, it's a big event. And now I will say a little bit about Light Pollution Think Tank, which we are the members, and you see some of the members at this photograph. And our organizations started 2 years ago. Many scientists, members of NGOs, from geographers, astronomers, biologists, technicians, almost all fields of science and activities gathered in this organization. Almost all people in Poland who are interested in light pollution are there. And for these 2 years, we did some activities, 25 pages interdisciplinary guide, which was printed in a couple thousand of copies, and it's available to download from in online version. We had billboard campaigns in 8 major cities in Poland. Those billboards were for at least 1 month or more, so it was the first such event in Poland. We had created several educational kits, LP kits, and you see them on the illustration. We presented it last year in the National Conference on Light Pollution in Toruń. We co-organize conferences of light pollution. The next 8th such conference which will be held in Lublin, in my university, and also one of the international conferences on light pollution, ecological and astronomical light pollution conference will be held this year in Krakow. So on behalf of the organizers, we invite you. You can also attend there in online. So it's an opportunity to visit Poland. And we also created a first report on light pollution in Poland, and the rest will say Caroline.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and finally, I would like to present to you results of first report about light pollution in Poland. It was published in previous year, so in the end of previous year, so it was, I think, 3 months ago. So it has printed version, of course, but mainly online version. If you are interested, you can enter this link or just take a picture of QR code and go to the website. It was downloaded over 20,000 times, so it is pretty much. So it seems like light pollution interested in Poland is quite huge, so we hope that it will be even larger. So yeah, unfortunately, still this is only in Polish, but if you are interested in it, you can just contact us. On the last slide will be emailed to us, and you have any detailed questions, do not hesitate to ask us. Okay, so first of all, I would like to show you a few maps from this report that show you how light pollution in Poland looks like. From this map, we can see that the largest cities in Poland emit the most light pollution, so this is obvious, in my opinion. So this map shows median annual value of radiance, and when the color is the brightest, so the light pollution is the biggest. But here, in my opinion, is better map that represents the 5 cities, the 5 biggest cities in Poland are responsible for 10% of light pollution emissions. So this is, of course, capital city, which is Warsaw, but also from the north, Gdańsk, Poznań, Łódź, and Krakow. And this is comparison to the average value for the municipality of radians. I think, yeah, it is about radians. So when the color is warmer, then this radiance is multiple to the average of value for the municipality. So it looks like the Poland emit much light. Yeah, this plot, this graph represents sum of light in Poland, and we can see 2 dashed lines. First, marked with a red color, show trend before COVID-19 pandemic. So we can see that it was pretty much growing, but the second line, dashed line, blue line, represent trend after 2020, after pandemic. Take a look on this year, so 2020, when the COVID pandemic revealed. So we can see that light pollution in Poland significantly decreased, but nothing happens later because we, after that, start emit still much more light. And our report represents data to 2022 year. So this year was year with the highest light emission in Poland. But this is not such as linear growth every year, of course, and it changed over time. And here we can see 2 plots that represent 2 different situations regarding light pollution. First, the top of it shows light pollution from road infrastructure. When you were visiting Poland, maybe you can see that roads are really light equipment, so there are a lot of light through Polish roads. And we can see on this top plot that after 2020 there was kind of light installation, street light installation, and light emission significantly increased. But when it comes to other side, there is a lot of small cities that decided to turn the light off after 11 p.m. and we can see it in our data. So after 2018, light emission in a small city significantly decreased, and this is good example how to, for example, reduce light pollution. Okay, so what can we conclude from this? Professor Andrzej Kotarba, which is a main author of our report, prepared kind of map that represent how is it in Poland, which places became brighter, which darker. Places marked with yellow color became brighter, with blue became darker, but we can see still the light emission in Poland is growing, and over 20% of surface of Poland emit in 2022 a year more light compared to previous decade. Part of Poland, so about 5%, it seems like reduce their emission, but it's not so simple to describe it. I will tell more about it on the last slide. And what is the white patches? We don't know. So actually we can't conclude is it brighter or darker, or we don't have enough data. So this is in particular voivodeship. This is not so important, but just take a look. Overall, we can see that most of voivodeship in Poland has their radiance increased. And on average, Poland is 137% brighter compared to natural dark sky, but this is, as I mentioned, on average, because there are much more light polluted places. For example, capital city, which is 60 times brighter compared to natural dark sky, and the best conditions to observe. Skies are on the bottom. You can see there is marked the east part of Poland, and there is quite good dark sky, but this is not natural dark sky, and this is 6% brighter compared to natural dark sky. And this is the last map. You can see a degree of loss of night sky over Poland, and this is really interesting. But you can see, please try to find places marked with black color. You will not see it because there is no natural dark sky free from light pollution in Poland, unfortunately. As I mentioned, there is one place in Bieszczady region, in the mountains, where sky is quite good, but this is not still free from light pollution. And take a look on the places with red and white color, when you live in places with red color, you can't see Milky Way, but the worst situation is in the biggest city market with white, where there's no eye adaptation to night vision, to this scotopic vision. So, to summarize our results, light pollution occurs everywhere, affects, of course, everyone. That I hope we will hear more about it during lecture of next speakers. Intensify despite COVID-19 experiences. In the biggest city, Polish population do not adapt their eyes to the scotopic vision, and which is the worst, in my opinion, is probably larger than reported by the report, because Professor Andrzej Kotarba, main author, as I mentioned, of our report, used visual infrared imaging radiometer suits, so VIIRS, data from the satellite. And as you probably know, this is not the best tool, this is not the best instrument to measure light pollution on our planet. So thank you very much. This is all of our team, and if you have any advices for us, if you want to cooperate, do not hesitate to contact, and hope to discuss a few words about our report later. Thank you.
Thank you both so much for your presentation. I really look forward to a lively discussion. And now let me welcome here on the podium the second project of this conference, which will be presented by Mrs. Mayerova and her team.
Good morning. Still morning, yes it is, managed. So good morning everybody, I'm happy for the international audience and I'll be talking about our project Architectural Lighting in the context of historical buildings and spaces. I work with the light and health for more than 15 years now, but since being an architect and discussing the outdoor lighting, me and my team, we decided to focus on one very small part of the whole topic of light pollution, and that is facade lighting, architectural lighting, lighting on buildings with historical context. At the very beginning, I want to specify what does it mean, this architectural lighting, because when we talk with people, when we introduce the topic, we quite often see a confusion between festive lighting and architectural lighting. And you can see it through all the guidelines, if there are any. Quite often we refer to festive lighting. The difference is obvious. Festive lighting is a short-term story, so it's one day, 2 evenings, something like that for a special occasion. You can put higher limits, you can make more fun, you can have more effects, but it takes only short time. Versus architectural lighting is a light on facade, on buildings, which is on long term. It stays there basically all the time, all the year. And therefore the limits and the quantity of light should be lower, and we should actually care more about when and where the lighting is on. This was not a very big problem a long time ago, or even 20, 30 years ago, because the powerful light sources were quite expensive and demanding a lot of energy. But now with the new affordable technology of LEDs, it becomes a huge problem, and we still, and many of the experts who are, or many of people who are making architectural lighting are thinking in the form of festive lighting and still use these limits. As well, there is lack of rules. There was for a long time only the minimum limits, but not the upper limits. So I'm very happy that this discussion is actually starting. And when we talk with the people from the experts from the Heritage Institute, we quite often hear the story that we are very motivated, or we are asked very often to add some modern part in the historical building, to add some modern element. And for them, put more light, put some colorful light, or put some extra light is actually less a problem, is more acceptable than putting some solid elements to the historical building. So they usually compromise with the push of, we want to have a modern feel of the building, to put extra light on, better than to put extra object. And therefore, very often we see a lot of colorful, lot of lights, which I would say are making our historical heritage, not supporting the genius loci, but making this, I'm sorry for the word, a Disneyland. I'm not going to show you these today, but I'm going to guide you through our project. What we did, we actually chose more than 25 locations of historical monuments in Czech Republic. We chose them across all the across all the 4 zones, the light environmental zones, and this is the map of Bohemia, so you can see how it's distributed. We as well chose several zones, several monuments in Prague, in the city, very central, and as well in a dark location, which is zone 1. So we find the 2 extremes of very, very central and the zone, the very dark zone, or the dark zone, even in the city. What we did, we collected luminance, we ran a luminance analysis, we tried to control for the environmental condition to make the setup as comparable as possible, but of course it's not always 100% possible. We measured the facade luminance, we put the average of that, we measured as well the sky luminance and averaged that. And we try to compare it to see the comparison, to see the ratio between the two, because we are focused on historical lighting for pedestrians, for people who are walking around, and therefore we are looking for contrast. So the light is nice, it's visible, the added light, but it's not too strong, it's not glary, and it's not more than necessary. And this is our goal. So what I've shown you just before was the analysis. I believe you have seen that before already. So the red colors are of course more light and the bluish colors are less light. So let me guide you through beautiful Czech historical heritage. I'm not going to show you all 25 of them, it would be too long here, but just some. So this is Radine, the ruins of a castle Radine in Zone 1, so this is the very dark area. And as you can see on the picture, the light is quite powerful, and in the special atmospheric condition, you can see it even on the sky. If you read the guide from the area, you can see that you will find out that it's typical landmark for whole the region, and it dominates surrounding by day and night, and that's true. Because if you do the analysis, the upper part is switched off, the lower part is switched on, and it's really shining from very far distance, even though it's surrounded by forest for kilometers from all sides. This is the picture from the normal camera. You can see the stars. If the lighting is switched off, you can see the monotone light on the very old building. And this is the analysis. You can see how much the architectural lighting is adding on when the ruin is in light. The second example, as well, Zone 1 is in Prague, is the Star Summer Palace. Same story. You can see how powerful light is there. The ratio sky to the object is 1 to 300, is actually about the same as the example before. So in the darkest areas, we are bringing quite a lot of light, and it's on the edge of being a glary and unpleasant. Zone 2, so we are getting a little bit brighter zone, is a water castle of Švihov, nice Renaissance castle, which has some extra light. It could be reduced, but mostly the importance is the position of the lighting, because it's actually glary and it's getting in the point of view of the people visiting, if someone is visiting. Here you can see that the light on the facade is not that strong as in those before, and this is actually the only example where we could even not just switch off the architectural lighting, but as well to switch off the public lighting, so the street lighting, and the third example where we actually had the building darker than the sky. So this was the only one where we actually could see the real natural condition. What is interesting, in the same building from the other side, because it's a water castle, we can see the light going across the water surface from quite a distance. It's only the street lighting, and still you can see how is the increase of the light just because of the street lighting. It's sodium lights. There is no limit on directivity, so it's actually thanks to the water level and the mirror increasing the light in the environment quite a lot. Next example, Beroun as a city. Already when you arrive there, you can see on the top of the hill above Beroun is a pretty bright spot. It's a chapel of Our Lady on Sorrows, and this is it. So again, quite powerful. The ratio of sky to object is 1 to 210, and locally is more than 6,000. And this is the only example what we have in LEDs. You can see how from what is the jump up when you have the standard old sources and these kind of LEDs. We have controls for a spectra, but I didn't put it in a presentation here. Next one, beautiful UNESCO thing in Kutná Hora, Cathedral of San Barbara. If you look on the picture, what drives your attention is the building which is next to it. This is Jesuit College, which is much younger, not that not that important, not that interesting building, but because the light is more powerful, it's newer than the beautifully, let's say, nicely lit Cathedral of Santa Barbara. The Gothic, the late Gothic thing is standing behind. You can see it on the analysis as well. The first one is with public lighting, street lighting only. The second one is when both churches have the architecture lighting on. And the last thing what I want to show is the National Museum on Wenceslav Square, which is the heart of Prague, the most commercial district. And yes, of course, there is so much light all around. You can see that there is the light pollution, or the light is generally super high in this area. But the new building, the building which was renovated and the lighting was renewed, is even more and more. And this is what happens in such a bright areas quite often, that the new renovated building is trying to be brighter and brighter, and the competition starts and there is no end. To summarize, we have all the zones here. There are some sky brightness and object brightness in candela per square meters. You can see in the sky brightness without the architectural lighting, it's increasing step by step across the zones, which for me is a nice feedback that the zones actually make sense. This is the main goal of our project, to monitor how the zones, if they are well divided, if the description somehow corresponds, and what actually is the lighting environment, what quantity of light do we have there, because we want to work in our condition in Czech Republic, and we have to agree, we have to know that if we will take international standards from CIA, and look on the numbers which are made internationally for Asia and all countries, it's actually different. So this is the main goal for this part of the project, is monitor how much light do we have in our environment. And second step is what does it make when we put light on? And what is quite interesting, that in the darker zones and in the brightest zones, we actually, the facade luminance is more or less similar. There's not much difference. So the quantity of light what we add in the dark zones is just too much. It's way, way too much. And there is a potential to reduce. The question, why is it happening? My private answer is, these are usually small installation from quite, let's say, unexperienced, not expert, and they put light in, no control, no one really checks that, no one calculates that, no one designs that, since there are no guidelines, no limits, it's just there. And it's in the darkest zones then. And the experience from the locals is, when there is a fog, it seems like there is a spaceship landing. So it's not even accepted by the public. Another thing, when we add LEDs, the installations are way higher, are more powerful, and I have the impression we don't know how to deal with these powerful sources yet. To summarize, first, when we want to install architectural lighting, we should think about if it's necessary, if it actually helps, because it's not a question of safety, it's not a question of seeing obstacles, it's a question of visual appraisal. And if we want to improve the building, if we want to help it, we should do it within the character of the building, not against. Next learning, what I've seen is that the environmental zones are actually making sense, and we should really focus on where the building is and make the lighting according to the location. And the third thing is that the contrast, what we follow through all the presentation, is a good feedback, and we should really check that. We can see in all the things what I've showed you, that the contrast was quite high or too high. There was none of them with the architectural lighting that would be on the limit of low contrast. So we can go really lower, and that's usually the best way how to make nice lighting with genius loci of a historic building or space. So we have a lot of work to do still. We are at the beginning of the project, which is supported by the Ministry of Culture of Czech Republic. I would like to thank them for the support and for the chance to work on this beautiful thing. And I would like to thank my colleagues who are in the audience to do all these night measurements. And yes, thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for presenting your research. Thank you. Now, from Prague's universities, we will now move to Silesian Grammar School in Opava and their project Emissions. The floor is yours.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Kristina Horáčková.
And I'm Laura Pavličková.
And we are here to present you our project, Emissions.
And we'll also here accompanied by our supervisor, who is from the Silesian University, who will maybe answer your questions if there be too much for us.
Okay, so who are we? We are students from Silesian Grammar School in Opava. And as you can see, we are just not a team of students, but also a few teachers. And we are all different people, but we are all interested in science and topics that are connected to science, as well as light pollution. That's the main thing. So that's it.
So as we mentioned, we are from Opava. It is a historical city located, as you can see on the map, in the Moravian Silesian region. So yeah. And our project was founded by a group of students in 2012 because at that time there was a prominent problem with air pollution, because there's a close city is Ostrava, who has its mines, and then from the Polish borders, and our students didn't like that, so they wanted to do something with that. So we started with the air pollution.
And then in 2017, we started to care more about light pollution, since it's a big and crucial problem that needs to be solved in some ways. So that happened in 2017, and we continue with both of them to nowadays, of course.
We are in contact with many officials. For example, with our city officials, we send them our maps because we go and measure the light pollution. We'll get to that later. So we're in contact. We give them our opinions, and they adjust the lights for the better. And we're also in contact with our regional council.
And then we moved on to collaboration with national parliament, and then we expanded and included the European Union, which was a great success for our project.
For the European Union, we also made some initiatives for the Commission. For example, making a labeling system for the covers of the bulbs, so people know where they should put them. So, for example, they don't put LED lights into their children's home. Then that the blue light filter should be a necessity for all of mobile phones and other electronic devices. And also more campaigns, so the importance of dealing with light pollution will spread.
And another initiatives was such as reduce the LED billboard emitting light, and also limits of illumination in the street bulbs. And last but not least, temperature of the light source, which is really important.
So now we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we have achieved.
So first thing first, we met a lot of politicians through our journey, and we also cooperated with a school in England, in Plymouth. So that's the award dialogue between us.
This is a spider graph of all the schools we have cooperated with or are still cooperating with. The biggest circle are the schools that we are in close contact to these days. and because it's our school doing it. And the other small red circles are the schools and the regions that we gave them a guidance, and now they're doing it their ways. But they can contact us anytime if they need something.
The main thing their project does is presenting to public from exhibition in our local center and shopping center in Opava, which was also about air and light pollution, and then presenting to normal people, when I say it like this, because we also popularized science.
Right now we are going measuring the lights. We use lux meter and spectrometer. So we go to the lamp, we measure it, then we put the data into tables, and after a while, when we have more of them, we send it to our city councils, and then they adjust the lights. We actually here have a map. Right now, what we are doing, if you're interested, you can look at it closer after. The black lines are the ones that are in the map, because we have a map on our city websites. As you can see all the lights, you can see whether it's good or bad. And the red ones are the ones we are currently measuring and have yet to send to the officials.
And what are we doing now? There's a lot of things that we do, actually, as you can see. And I'm going to mention just some of the most important ones. The first thing is educating secondary school, which is really important and most common thing that we do, because it's really important for us to educate young people, because they should know about the causes and problems about the light pollution. And I'm going to explain to you how does the educating process work. It's about that all secondary schools comes to our school once a month, each by each, and we educate them for 4 hours. The first 2 hours is about physics and chemistry. They trying to experiments and practice, of course, because that's good for them. And that's practically it. We just go and tell them about the problematic of light pollution. So
then in the third hour, they have a lesson about our history, of our project, and also the importance and problems of light pollution, and also some of the air pollution. We tell them about like the circadian rhythm, or tell them what they should do for themselves to feel better, and stuff like that. And in the last hour of physics, they can measure their phone's spectrum, so they know how they should adjust them.
Then we also was on another conference last year, which was about sustainability of Ostrava, and we presented there about our project, and we learned a lot of new things, get a lot of new contacts that we can collaborate with, and our presentation aroused big interest, which was really good.
And now that's something for the future. We took our part in the designing of project Stromovka, which is the Stromovka in Opava, not here in Prague. It's supposed to be a city district that is eco-friendly, and we took part in the light system of it, that the lights should have zero ULOR, and it should be adjustable sensitivity. And also there should be all the motion sensors that have their legislation permits. And also for the future, we want to get back in contact with the city councils, because as we are measuring right now, we found out some lights that are not really good, and they're even close to houses, so we need to consult them with them. And also we want to start doing our part in either soil pollution or water pollution, but we don't know where we'll get to that. And yeah, if here are our social media and project. If you want to, you can contact us on the website. There should be our email address. And also, if you want to, don't hesitate to invite us somewhere. We'd be more than happy to give you more presentation in more depth about us.
Yeah, so our Instagrams and websites are really busy, so there might be things that you might be interested in, so check them. And that's everything from us, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for coming. It's very impressive to see how the topic of light pollution can touch all the generations. And now we are coming to the last presentation of the second session. From the University of Bologna arrived Ms. Giulia Marzani to present to us the project Enlighten Me and its progress. Giulia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction and for having me here today. I'm Giulia Marzani from the University of Bologna, and I am Research Fellow at the Department of Architecture. And I'm here on behalf of the project coordinator, Professor Simona Tondelli, who is a full professor in urban and territorial planning. But we also have co-coordinators of this project, that is Professor Valerio Carelli, who is from the Department of Biomedical and Neuromotor Science. Because in Enlighten Me, we have two souls, one that is more related to studies about social health and well-being, and another soul that is dedicated to also measure the health impact of light on people's health and well-being. And why we started? Because we do have a lot of policies for healthy cities, but none of the objectives and indicators that are explaining them are addressing the lighting domain. And we also do have urban lighting master plans, but none of them are directly targeting human health and well-being. So human health and well-being are not having an adequate space into public lighting policies, as well as health-related human policies are not considering the impact of light on people's health and well-being. That's why Enlighten Me, and we have a short video that presents very quickly our project, so I can focus more on our results later. Let's see.
The world population is growing, urban areas are expanding, and artificial lighting is all around. Have you ever considered that this might affect your health and well-being? Our biological clock, influenced by the naturally occurring changes between light and darkness, reacts very sensitively to an inappropriate and disruptive exposure to artificial outdoor and indoor lighting. Too little of the right light during the day and too much of the wrong light at night can impact your health and well-being. Older adults over 65 years of age are particularly prone to these impacts. Genetic changes in the body and altered chemical processes exacerbate their predisposition to age-related diseases, reducing their quality of life. Lighting also disproportionately impacts older adults' lives in terms of access to public space and active participation in civic life, and through the quality of indoor spaces in which they spend more time than other age groups. This refers to the way lighting shapes urban spaces and social life, whether at home or in public spaces, thus affecting people's behaviour, moods, and sense of security, as well as social relationships. The Enlighten Me project has set out to mitigate these impacts by examining the correlations between health, well-being, lighting, and socio-economic factors in 3 European cities: Bologna, Amsterdam, and Tartu. A population-based study and qualitative fieldwork alongside co-designed public lighting installations in all 3 cities provide the insights required for new guidance and tools on cutting-edge urban lighting policies that support better public health in cities throughout Europe. Enlighten Me, switching on a healthier and safer future for European cities.
So, as you may have heard, Enlighten Me, just to very quickly summarize, started in March 2021, and we still have 1 year of work ahead of us. And we have a target focus that are older adults. So we are dealing with this specific target, and we are 22 partners coming from 10 different countries, and we have a very multidisciplinary team to tackle this topic because, as I said before, we are interested in social sciences, but also on health, and so we have also the medical part that is dealing with the population-based study, but not only. We are urban planners, as I said before, so we have a lot of skills involved in developing this project. And we have 3 cities involved that are the city of Bologna, the city of Amsterdam, and the city of Tartu, where we developed experimentation. So in particular, we selected a district in all the 3 cities, and we settled urban lighting labs. And we there did the population-based study. All these activities are still ongoing. As I mentioned, we still have 1 year ahead of us, and we worked on the first part about the knowledge building phase. So we had to know about light in our 3 cities and in our districts, and then we started creating evidences. We are just started with the exploitation phase. So we have a few results, and we started exploiting them. Very quickly, because I would like to focus most on the evidence building phase, but it's just to recap what we produced in our first knowledge building phase. We have a map and an atlas. So we have an atlas where you can find some good practices and some reviews that we collected about the topic of light, health, and elderly. So here you can explore it and go through the studies, the case studies that we collected. And also we developed a knowledge campaign in our cities. Here you can see just the Bologna maps, but we have them for all the 3 cities of the project, of course. And we investigated health indexes, socioeconomic indexes, lighting indexes, and urban indexes in order to identify the most deprived and vulnerable neighborhoods where to focus with the project. So we selected a district where to carry on lighting interventions and the population-based study. I will focus mainly today on the urban lighting labs. We established them in the 3 cities, as I mentioned before, to engage communities and to co-create lighting interventions. So we conducted qualitative research and technical lighting measurements in the districts before and during the lighting installation. And we implement and co-designed the experiments, so the new lighting installations. How we did it. This part has been carried on by mainly by our partner, that is the London School of Economics in London from UK. And we would like to understand how diverse and unequal people use and experience the space, and how can lighting support these practices. So we adopted an ethnographic approach. So it means that we speak with different people, understanding the space they are using, and to develop a conversation about their lives. And only a few chats would be about lighting, but then we have observation, interviews, night walks, photo and video documentation of the districts, and workshops with them. Here on the right, you can see the main people involved that are, of course, the elderly themselves living in the district, the carers, but also the policymakers, city makers, and designers, and local organization who was fundamental to engage people working with us. And here I will present very quickly the Bologna case study. We have selected this square, which is in Savena district, one of the districts that resulted to be the most vulnerable from the previous phase. And here you can see that we have a square, we have a portico, and we have also a street, very big street near to the square. This is how it appeared before our intervention. So we have a very low uniformity, which contributed to not feeling the space as welcoming and attractive. Very low vertical lighting levels, which increase the sense of unsafety. The lighting poles are not adequate. longer adaptation time for the eye of pedestrian to adjust to the changing lighting conditions, so it could contribute to a sense of disorientation, and especially no uniformity in CCT, because we had the square lit with the 2400 Kelvin, the street with 4000 Kelvin, and some projectors under the porticos that are up to 6000 Kelvin. Then we started with the project, so we had some workshops with the people joining us in May 2022. And we worked through how all the year, basically, and also in 2023. And in June 2023, we switched on the new lighting. And it was a great success for the public. They were very happy about the situation, about working with us. And this is how the square now appears. So this is before our interventions and after the lighting installation. So we basically removed the old bulbs, let's say, with the new fixture provided by a partner of the project. This is how the portico now looks like. So here you can see, I hope, a big improvement according to you. And here is the system that we adopted, because all these lighting systems can be controlled also remotely. And we used Casamdi in Bologna and Amsterdam and Gridens in Tartu. And we have the possibility to adjust lighting, let me say lighting values, not going too much into details, but we can set up different controls, so we can dim when it's a present, dim according to a time schedule. For example, we did an experiment. We lowered the value of the color temperature in week by week, and then the third week that we lower value, we received a lot of calls, hey, but here we cannot see anything. So we just tested how much light is needed for them, for example, to enjoy the space, and so what is the level to which we can also intervene to reduce light emissions. And here again, another picture of before and after. And we can change the CCT from 2200 Kelvin until 4000 Kelvin. So we can play with these values, and also we can experiment changing these values in different zones of the square. We can decide to completely switch on one part and to take switched on another part, and this was very much appreciated by people because they could organize, for example, some other activities in the square. They could do an outdoor cinema, for example, in July, so we completely switched off the lights in the square and they could enjoy the film. And we are still going on with the experiment. So we also are working into the indoor lighting, so we have 10 households with them we are going to change indoor lightings. And then I'm going to close the presentation just mentioning the population-based study, because the recruitment is still ongoing, so I don't have actually the results to share today, but we are kind of understanding how the impact of outdoor and indoor lighting innovations is on circadian rhythm, sleep, and personal light exposure. So we are going on with the recruitment of 500 participants per city, and we are asking them to use a lamp for light therapy and then assess after 3 months the results of the study, but it's still ongoing, as I mentioned. And at the end, what we are aiming at is to develop innovative guidelines for urban lighting policies that includes health and well-being in their item, in their topic. So we are trying to seek energies and avoid harmful health impact. And we are co-creating this with the cities, with the companies dealing with lighting, and with the scientific advisory board. And we also have a training for health city management, and we are running it with the local administration to promote intersectoral health promotion strategies. So we already had one edition in all the 3 cities, basically, and then we are going to have a second one to discuss about the topic, how the health city management can be approached in city, to raise awareness and to share the methodologies and the scenarios that Enlighten Me was developing. And that's all for my side, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Julia, for your presentation. I would ask you if you could please stay here with us, and we will move to the panel discussion. So if I may ask all today's presenters from this session to join us here on the panel.
Great. So we have enough time for discussion with our presenters and panelists. So I would like just to ask whether there are any questions from the audience. If not, there are already 2 questions at Slido. The first is to Mrs. Majerova. What will be the other steps in the projects? Are there going to be any recommendations or the monuments lightened in a gentle way as an examples?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Of course, the project altogether is for 5 years, so we are now closing the first year. All the data collected is actually should help us to build the recommendation guidelines. So this is the main goal what we work on. Yes.
Yes, and if I may add also from our cooperation with the Ministry of Culture, there is also this ambition to really use the outcomes from the projects and have it as a methodology in practice. So we really hope for that. There are another 2 questions for Enlighten Me project. One is, what is the light level that is accepted by population? And if I may also add, what is the response when it comes to timing? You know, because you have this socio research, so you know if really people need, when people need to have the streets lighted.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the value because other colleagues are doing experimentation, so I don't give you an answer just to not be wrong, but we can provide this information, of course, maybe also later through your channels. But yeah, it was a kind of experimentation. We tried to make this lower and lower and lower to see if the response were active, and they were, because we have, as I mentioned, a lot of organizations and community centers that are really interested in the project. So probably many citizens addressed them and went to them to complain a bit about the situation also, and it was very quick in terms of response. But we have a team that is working on the area very often, so it's not difficult now to reach us, because we are there basically always because we are doing this study. So some of the Enlighten Me people are always around the area, so it's easy to contact us now.
Okay, thank you. And there is another question. Why are you using white LED light in the new fixtures, as seen as some of your photos?
We have these fixtures that and we can control the light color. So we are going from 2200 Kelvin until 4000 Kelvin. So this is the range that our lighting fixture can vary. So we would like to experiment on this. So we needed a system that worked on a range because we would like to understand the perception of people with this in this range, so from 2200 until 4000. So the pictures have been taken when the light was particularly white, let's say, but we have this range. So,
thank you. And another question to Enlighten Me project, it spurred a lot of questions, is from actually Jana Jakushina from the Plan B Horizon project. And there is a concern about like the human-centric and human health impacts. And if you also considered the biodiversity impacts within the advisory scientific boards.
Not directly in the project because it was designed to be human-centric. So we have identified this specific target as one of the most prone to health impact when exposed to bad lighting. So we had from the beginning this strong target. So we are mainly working with the human and the human-centric approach, it's true. But we have a work package, let me say, about ethics, and in this kind of research and with the team that is dedicated to this, we also intercept many aspects related to biodiversity. So we are aware of this other part that is very important, of course, but no, it's not the primary focus of our project.
Yes, well, maybe you can build upon your research also with the other colleagues from other Horizon project. That would be very nice to combine the two approaches, which is really necessary. And if I may add one question to our colleagues from Silesian Gymnasium or Grammar School, you have mentioned the blue light from the screens. Did yourself also for example, at the Instagram, did you also, show the information and spread the word, like did some campaign on the blue light filter? Because now we are dealing mostly with the outdoor lighting, you as well in the project, but concerning really the youngest population, because Enlighten Me project was targeted for the elderly people, but the younger population is really vulnerable, staring to the screens. Me personally, I also have kids, so they are all the time on their smartphones. So did you yourself, did any campaign on the blue light and the necessity of using blue light filter?
We actually made a post on our Instagram page about the blue light filter when we give them the importance of it and the recommendation to install it. And almost all of our people in our project have it, already has it in their phones.
Okay, great. And another question, what is the feedback from representants of various cities when you present the results of the measuring to the municipality, to the officials?
Well, I would say that the project lasting several elections. So, in fact, there is no political dependency. And also, all the authorities are very open to the information especially from the high school students. It is much more effective than if, for example, scientists or activists are talking to them. So they are very welcomed, and it has very high impact.
Great. Maybe another question, how much effort is needed to run the project like yours, because it needs the individuals who are really into and they put their own energy in it, students and teachers. So would you recommend the other colleagues from other countries to replicate?
Definitely, I will recommend it. And also, I have to say that the key person is Mrs. Tkacheva, which is the most important person in that project of emissions, because she started this project, she motivated the students and all the teachers, and in fact is the main engine of the project. Definitely I will recommend to every high school to have teachers like Mrs. Tkacheva, like them. Especially these teachers are very important. The teachers are the most important thing in the project like this.
Thank you. Going back to Enlighten Me project, another question. Do you have any response from the users regarding the correlated color temperature, which is preferred?
From the
CCT values, like because you had from 2,200 and up to 4,000.
We still don't have systematized results because, as I mentioned, it's an ethnographic approach. So we have a lot of interviews still ongoing on the area. So we still did not systematize the data that we collected, but we are on that stage now. And in June we will start addressing, because we have our annual meeting with all the partners. We are going to have a session dedicated to exploring the first results collected in the urban lighting labs, and hopefully they will feed our guidelines that are guidelines dedicated to policymakers and for urban lighting master plans, to include these aspects in drafting these documents.
Okay, thank you. Well, open floor for you in the audience if you would like to comment and ask. Okay.
Thank you once again. My name is Mario Vujic. I'm coming from Croatia, from Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development, and I would like to thank all the presenters and all the great projects. And I have one question for Ms. Julia. When you are starting to develop your project, what was the starting point in making a decision that your targeted population will be elderly people? Because we all know that all populations, wider populations, are really important looking to the lighting pollution. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I indeed deleted that slide because just to be short, but probably it's important to say it. So thank you very much for the question. We decided on that focus group because we have, as I said, we are a multidisciplinary team, and there are studies and researches that are saying that for elderly, the problems related to health, if compared to light, of course, are much higher. So elderly population are much prone to experimenting the impact of light on their health and well-being, especially from the health point of view. If you want, from their point of view, we can say that their circadian rhythm is most impacted, much more than younger. So the inappropriate exposure to light could significantly harm them, but also from the social point of view, we are interested in understanding how elderly are experiencing the spaces and how light can support their activities in space. Because they are not the same activities that young people are doing in, for example, a square, or in Tartu we have a bridge. So there are many interesting aspects to investigate when it comes to elderly and how they enjoy and use the spaces and the public spaces. That's mainly why we focused on elderly. And it's also, if I remember well, 1/5 already of the European population. So this is our specific target.
Thank you. One question to our colleagues from Light Pollution Think Tank. Have you succeeded in handing over the results of your research to the municipalities, for example, for the five biggest Polish cities, or to governmental representatives?
Last week we were. It was not in obesity, so kind of it's not ministry, but some organ that co-work with ministry. But so yeah, we are trying to share our informations with the most important person in Poland. And what was the first part of the question?
Whether you were able to hand over your results to either municipalities or the governmental level?
First of all, we would like to do the governmental level, but yeah, we are still working to share our results as wide as possible.
And is there any feedback yet?
As you can see, our report was downloaded over 20,000 times. So yeah, this is interested much higher than we were expecting, and our meeting in the previous week was such a huge event, and we are thinking that it's actually happening, and we will want to develop. But how? Feedback, we will still be waiting.
Okay, thank you. And other questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Moravec.
Hello, I'm David Moravec from Czech University of Life Sciences, and I have a question for the Light Pollution Think Tank, because you have presented a lot of nice maps in your presentation. Are those maps, did you make those maps by your own, or did you use some already existing products? And if so, are there some publications or information? How exactly did you make those maps? Because we have to do similar things here.
It will be much easier to answer this question, but I'm not an author of this report. Our main author is Professor Andrzej Kotarba. On the last slide, we showed contact to us, and I think this is the right person to answer your question, because he is climatologist and works mainly with satellite data, and he developed all these maps using VIIRS data from the satellite. So yeah, please contact him. It will be easier to answer your question.
Yeah, a spoiler, Mr. Moravec is working on a research for our ministry, and maybe another question from my side, because in our research project, we will be trying to combine the maps of light pollution also with sensitive species map. Are you planning to do something similar?
Probably. I can't say anything about it because I'm not responsible from this part.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, there. Oh, okay. The second one will be yours.
Good afternoon, Tomáš Peltan from University of Life Sciences in Prague. I have a question for Enlighten Me project. First, you told that one of the problems was that the space was fragmented by the light. Is it your ex-ante assumption, or did you verify this question? Because then you worked with turning off parts of the space, and I think it might be beneficial even to have different parts and different experience of the space in day and night. And the second question is concerning if you focused on color rendition in the night time, the properties of the light, because the older types of light sources like high pressure sodium lamps had very poor light, poor color rendition. But sometimes it seemed more natural in night to see less colors than to see same things as during the day. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'm not a lighting expert, so I disclaim now, because I'm an urban planner, but I can try to explain a bit more the process that we adopted. We used both satellite images and also in-ground measurements. So we actually measured all the lighting fixtures and the lighting values that we had in the square and the surroundings. So we had also this, we also did this task, and we had the high sodium lighting fixture in the square, and actually I have to say that people was very happy with the atmosphere that these lamps were doing, because they give to the square this Parisian atmosphere that they really loved. But then when we changed the lighting fixture to the new ones, they were very, very happy about the possibilities that they have to explore and use the space. And I didn't hear very well the second part, the second question. If you could repeat.
The second part considered that with the high pressure sodium, you basically see very little differences between colors. And with more modern sources like LED lamps, you see very realistic colors, but I personally find it more natural for night not to see many colors.
Okay.
So if you focused on this topic too, thank you.
Okay, now I got it, thank you. Yeah, as I said, we are doing experiments with people. So we are asking if they like the colors that they see, if they are able to see better, for example, because in the square, a group of people is also used to organize a book club. So they need the right light to read, for example, a book, and with the old lamps they couldn't. So we are asking them if they like the new setup, if there is which scenarios of light they prefer actually, because we are asking them what they feedback about our lighting interventions. It's the most that I can say now, because as I said, the results we still don't have. Our partners are working on that, so hopefully, if we will have another edition of this light pollution conference, we will bring you much more details about the outcomes of both the lighting, the social study, and the lighting, the pollution, the clinical, not the clinical because it's not the appropriate word, but the population-based study.
Okay, thank you. There was another question?
Thank you. Fanny Cooper-Schmidt from the Federal Office for the Protection of the Environment. I have a comment for you, Julia, because the biggest company of rail station had done a similar study as yours to test different color. It was in particular for big area where they are working. So with big machines where they really need to have perfect light, because it is quite dangerous, you can really kill a man. And they were testing 2000 Kelvin piece, 4000 Kelvin, and 3000 Kelvin was accepted by workers. But there are some workers that told the authority, we cannot work and we won't work under this color.
Okay, thank you for the comments. We will have a look for sure, and also we could put maybe in the atlas this experience if we find something. I'm sorry, I cannot say the value that for citizens were acceptable. I don't have this information now, but we will have the possibility to speak more about this if possible.
Okay, Marietta?
I have one provocative question. Do you think that human-centric approach to lighting is the proper way to go, or maybe we should care more about biodiversity and animals at night?
No, but I mean, I totally agree that biodiversity and animals are important to consider when we speak about light pollution. They are very sensitive to light exposure, so I totally agree with the focus too. It was just a matter of choosing. I mean, it was a choice, our choice to deal with this topic, whose ultimate aim is to influence urban lighting policies and master plans. So that's how the study was born, and maybe in the future we can take also care of the other part and of the other aspect. I mean, I totally agree that it's really relevant, as also we saw before in many presentations. So I mean, I totally agree that it's important. It was our approach, and we wanted to work on with elderly and old populations.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting perspective because usually when you deal with municipalities, the argument is that people need the light. But based on your research, maybe we will find out that really they need it in certain time, and then you don't really need the light. And even the people say they don't need it. So we will have like the proof based on sociological research and with the other project, research project focused on biodiversity, maybe we will be able, or you will be able to combine the outcomes. I have another question for Lenka Majerova. What contrast of brightness between sky and illuminated facade should we be heading to?
Wow, this is a difficult question. Who asked that?
Okay. Mr. Fuchsa.
Yeah, thank you. I guessed that. Sorry, you too. I'm asking the same thing actually all the time. We know that it changes with the quantity of light in the environment. We have very well, or we understand quite well what contrast we need in daytime situation when we go to the low lighting levels. This is something what is not that clear. But we know that if it's 1 to 100, it's quite high. When we can differentiate things in 1 to 2, 1 to 5 nicely. The question is whether this is enough for architectural lighting, which is probably not, because we want to bring the facade or bring the volume to show it. So there we need to go slightly higher, but we don't have to go much higher. And that's the task. This is the thing what we want to do in the project, because next to monitoring what's outside, how the environment looks like, we want to go in the lab, test the light contrast and as well the color contrast to check for materials, for color of light, for details, and then find solutions or examples how to make the building visual. Thank you. How to make the building visually attractive without putting too much light there. So maybe just show part of it or show some elements and get the contrast to be visible, but not just put the flat light on and that's it.
This is just a try to answer the reference level, and for the World Heritage Convention, I've argued that for the night light levels, the moon should be the reference, because for the facade in daylight, there's a lot of the lighting design comes from the shadows that adds the depth and plasticity. So that is also working at night with the moon. So I would, until there's something else, I would use the full moon illuminance as the reference, and from that you can work on.
Yes, that's a great idea, and I actually love the moon, full moon illuminance. The problem is that the distribution of the light for the full moon is something what we cannot achieve with electric lighting, because the uniformity, the distribution in space is something what's unique, and I mean, you cannot build it with electric lights. So we have to, and the question is whether, I mean, actually we have to, but if we want to show the building same way as we see it in daytime, I don't think so. As well, the buildings, the historical buildings particularly, will built not to be in light during night because it was not possible. So all the elements are actually made to be the light directly from above. And now we quite often put the light from underneath, and that completely changed the structure. So these are all questions what we have to go through and we have to consider, and then maybe bring some ideas how to deal with that. And we are very, very, very on the beginning.
Any other questions or comments? No comments or question on Slido. So then I would have one final question for all of you. You are dealing with light pollution from different perspectives, different fields. So what is the biggest success so far from point of view or an end success? And what is the biggest obstacle so far? And if we can start from this end. So success and obstacle.
Among the biggest successes are meetings like this, and in your countries as well, because the awareness of on light pollution is very small in society, so we're improving it. And on the other side, I think it's our governments that they don't think that light pollution is a serious problem. I think maybe in Poland, I don't know if in Czechia or Croatia, because you have some laws. In Poland, we don't have any, so yes, thank you.
Yeah, the same. So there is no legislation, rules that will somehow reduce light pollution in Poland. So this is one of our main aims to achieve, to conduct such a thing. In my opinion, public awareness is getting higher, so this is our biggest success, because after revealing our report, media interest on light pollution rise significantly. So it was really nice that someone wants to hear us, want to listen to us, and think, wow, I didn't think that light can be somehow harmful. Most of people think light is good in every way, but not. It's not so. So yeah, public awareness is bigger, but a shame is that we did not still develop any legislation rules, so we will be working on this.
Well, in my opinion, the biggest achievements of our project is being invited to a conference like this, or the fact that the secondary schools are always coming back and they like our presentations because we always get positive feedbacks from them and they want to come again. And I think one of the biggest obstacles is the fact that many people don't believe in light pollution. I see comments like that all the times, that it's stupid and that nothing like that exists, and then also the problems with legislations.
Well, in my point of view as a student, I would say that the biggest achievement is to present into public and also present into young people, because they should know about this problematic, not only the scientists and people that are really studying this subject and this topic, because you probably know that you have the experience in that, but normal people don't have. So that's for me the biggest achievement. And I would say that light is a big helper in our lives. and we should really be grateful for that. But it's also a problem giver, and we should keep eye on it because it's really important for our health, our environment, and that's why we're actually here. So.
Well, I think that the biggest success is that young people like them can sit in front of you and they share their thoughts and results. And I'd like to see more young people like them. And the biggest obstacle, well, I have a particle completely non-important in case of light pollution at all. It's about the astronomy. The biggest obstacle is, I think that a lot of young people don't need the night sky. They don't know the night sky. Several years ago, I presented in front of about 200 of young people from high schools. And my presentation started with a question. Have you ever seen a Milky Way on your own eyes? And from the 200 of people at that conference, it was about ecology. It was an Enviforum conference. And let's say about 10 or 12 people only pick up their hands, raise their hands, and most of them were teachers. I think this is the biggest obstacle.
Okay, the biggest achievement is the team, what we made. The people who are working on the project and actually all the participants, because we are welcomed and the door open to people from National Heritage, to people from Ministry of Environment, to many electrician, city lighting planners and so on, historian. I'm very happy for that. So this is a big achievement. The biggest obstacle is the fact that the day has only 24 hours and each of us only 2 hands. And yes, that's it.
I actually have to focus for this answer because all I will say are both achievements but also obstacles. And the first one is the multidisciplinarity of the team. I mean, we involved, as I mentioned before, a lot of partners with a lot of different expertise, a lot of different languages. And it was very hard at the beginning to understand each other because put together a sociologist and a doctor and speak together, and urban planners and lighting manufacturers and experts in biogenetics and experts in chronobiology, and speak together about effects of light on elderly people and especially in their health and well-being. It's very hard to merge these views, and I hope it's going to be also our biggest achievement. So I hope that the results that would go together into guidelines could demonstrate that multidisciplinary research are possible and are strengths because of these many aspects that are involved on the table, and this is one of the biggest that I would say.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much. I would close this session and panel. Thank you very much for all panelists, and I will hand over to Katka once again. And applause.
Thank you all once again. It was a great discussion. Now, the timetable is showing me that we should now move to conclusions of the conference. I will try to conclude a bit briefly and quite unusually. First of all, I would like to thank all of you, both here and online, for joining us here. And I heard that the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is 42. If the number 42 means cooperation, then it is indeed the answer to everything. What we could hear today, the cooperation is something that can help people move forward in legislative, Thanks to cooperation, we can see new projects funding. If you want to bring the stricter technical standards, it won't happen without cooperation. And how could we monitor anything without cooperation? As Mr. Dušek said at the beginning of the day, sharing information, cooperation, and determination are the main tools for accomplishing our goals. I was glad to meet here today many determined people. Some of them share their projects with us. We could appreciate a huge step, a huge step in raising the awareness of the topic in Poland. Researchers from the Czech Technical University of Prague could show us that the beauty of buildings and monuments can be elevated without causing harm to the environment. Project Emissions taught us that it is never too early or too late to look around and care about your surroundings and raise awareness about this issue. And Enlighten Me project brought many of these together. As cities, communities, people should cooperate together to make the healthier space for the living of people, the fauna and the flora. So once again, thank you all for your contributions. I believe that the Light Pollution 2024 was beneficial for you all as well, and for our effort to bring natural light into lives of people, and back to nature will not stop. So now I would like to invite you all for the light lunch. And before we move to that, I will ask you to gather up for a little family photo. Thank you.